Hello, this is the TradeSite Forex Market Preview and International Economic Data Roadmap for the week beginning Sunday the 15th of March 2020, ending Friday the 20th. This will be triple expiration week for options, futures, and commodities. Interesting times. We'll see what we get. We've got a huge bounce back this week. So the dollar finally fell and then bounced all the way back this week. The week before was a big drop. And still with all this, we're still sitting inside of the range we've been stuck in for the last year, which is we finally got a good move, but it's still not much of a move compared to anything else, and it hasn't broken out of anything or taken us anywhere else. Let's look at the major daily charts. Euro dollar, the inverse of the dollar index, up and back, of course, as you would expect. The pound dollar fell apart this week, so right, coming back down, just like the euro dollar did, just a little bit harder. Obviously, the Aussie dollar falling apart as well. New lows on the Aussie dollar as the dollar got stronger across the board. Euro yen had wiggled both ways. It actually, that's the funny thing, sitting exactly where it was 2 weeks ago. Like this didn't even happen. Pound yen has drooped a bit, a little bit lower. Pound Swiss also lower and near the lows of the year. There's a nice inverted cup here on this chart, and the New Zealand dollar is at lows with a breakdown point coming up here. So it's been a very interesting set of circumstances. In terms of the interweek action, we had 400 pips, 450 pips of range on the euro dollar here. Note the 13 sell signal on the 30-minute back at the start of the week. And then we've got the pound dollar here, which had a huge range, literally 900 pips, which is some of the biggest we've seen on the pound dollar in a while. And we had some good winners this week, including a 360 pip winner to the final exit on our trade that came out on Thursday and went all the way until Friday. So obviously a big trading week for us. No complaints here on the pound. Let's look at the economic data coming out this week. So we've got on Sunday visitor arrivals out of New Zealand, core machinery orders out of Japan, Rightmove HPI out of UK, industrial production and fixed asset investment, retail sales, and the unemployment rate out of China at 10 p.m. Eastern Time Sunday night. Monday we've got PPI, G7 meetings, PPI out of Switzerland, German BUBA monthly report, never sure what that is, Empire State Manufacturing Index, Westpac Consumer Sentiment out of Australia, tick long-term purchases at the market close here in the U.S. on Monday, monetary policy meeting minutes and the housing price index out of Australia at 8:30, revised industrial production out of Japan, SECO economic forecasts out of Switzerland, the weekly initial or unemployment rate out of the UK, that's not a weekly number, that's a monthly number, sorry. German zoo economic sentiment and broad European zoo economic sentiment at 6 a.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday. We've got manufacturing sales out of Canada, foreign securities purchases out of Canada, core retail sales and retail sales here in the U.S. at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, capacity utilization and industrial production at 9:15, business inventories, JOLTS job openings, NHB housing market index at 10. We've got the GDT price index out of New Zealand, current account out of New Zealand, MI leading index out of Australia, trade balance out of Japan at 7:50 p.m. Eastern Time Tuesday night. Core CPI and CPI out of Europe, along with Italian trade balance and the broad European trade balance numbers at 6 a.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday. German 30-year bond auction. We've got CPI out of Canada. Housing starts and building permits here in the U.S. Crude oil inventories. We got a Fed meeting. So it's a two-day Fed meeting. Starts Tuesday. Remember, they're expected to cut rates to between 0 and 0.25%. That's announcement will be at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and the press conference is at 2:30. Canada's annual budget release, New Zealand's GDP, Japan's national core CPI at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Australia's got their employment change and unemployment rate. We got a rate announcement out of Japan that night as well, and then their press conference related to that. Switzerland's got their trade balance at 3 a.m. Eastern Time going into Thursday. We've got a rate announcement out of Switzerland at 4:30 a.m. So a lot of rate announcements this week. ADP non-farm employment change out of Canada, Philly Fed manufacturing index here in the U.S., current account unemployment claims here in the U.S., CB leading index. Natty gas here in the U.S. Japan's on a bank holiday to close out the week on Friday. Credit card spending out of New Zealand at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday. German PPI current account out of Europe. Consumer inflation expectations and public sector net borrowing out of the UK. And then retail sales out of Canada and existing home sales here in the U.S. So it's a busy week, but obviously the focus is just all on the coronavirus. But we'll see what the Fed does, exactly what they say. Charts as usual brought to you by eSignal. If you've not yet taken a trial of our services, feel free to do so. We will help you out for a couple weeks. Have a great trading